All right, so the next thing we want to do is trim out the tread work here so they're about the same height. And doing so, we need to create a little trim object to do that. As you see, I've already done that here. But I'm going to take you through this step by step. And if you look over here, you can tell with the little cog attached to the item that it is a procedural object or a mesh operation. So let me just actually undo this trim and I will take you through this step by step. All right, so let's get started. And as you can see, I've hidden all of the trim objects that I'm not going to be needing, and those are mostly all the subtractive trims. And I'm keeping the green additive trims active because that's what I'm actually going to be trimming. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and make a new layer, hit the N key, and this is going to be where I'm going to put my curve, and I'm going to go into my right view. All right, and jump over to the curves. Now, a lot of times when you're adding a curve, it's kind of hard to see it against the background item. So a lot of times what I'll do is I'll go to a shaded view, and that darkens everything in the background and kind of keeps the curve kind of a much brighter color. So I'm going to go ahead and use a B-spline for this particular curve. Set down 4 control vertices, and I'm just going to walk this through and make sure that I zoom in as needed to make sure that I am intersecting all of those treads that I need to cut. And I think that'll work for me for the most part. And you can always make adjustments later if you need to, but let's just go with this right now. All right. Now I'll go into my perspective view, actually go into my top view here. And I'm going to grab that item and I'm going to move it and just move it out here so I can actually see it a little bit better. Go back into my right view. There we are. Okay, it looks like I've gotten everything, I think. So let's go back into my top view, and I'm going to add another layer. And this is just going to be a simple curve. And I'm going to start here. I'm going to add another end right there. So that's going to be the path that we're going to extrude this first curve we created on. So I'm going to call this, let's see, tread trim path. And I'm going to call this trim curve. There we go. All right, now go back into my perspective view so I can see what's going on. And with that trim curve selected, I'm going to go ahead and open up my mesh operator panel. And I want to add a curve extrude operator, so I'll just click on add operator, and in the search bar just type extrude, and you'll see it comes up with the extrude operator, and it's immediately asking me for a path. And it looks like I have a couple of tread trim paths, but the uppercase one, I believe, is the one that I just created, tread trim path. And there we are. Just a reminder to be careful with some of your naming conventions. Now I have to make a few adjustments to the operator for it to work properly for me. As you can see, it's not really intersecting any of the trim items that I need it to intersect. So I'm going to go up here and I'm going to uncheck cap, start, and end. I'm going to change the selection type to polygon and go down to path segment guide and go start at source. And there you go. As you can see, it is now intersecting all of the trim items, all of the positive trim items that I need to cut. So I think I could go back into default view mode here. And I never remember which direction these polys need to be facing, but I think well, we can always flip them later. So let's go ahead and give this a try. So with that selected, I'm going to select all the items that I want to trim. Go back to my Fusion tab first. Select all my items that I want to trim. I'm going to hold down the Control key so I can select these guys. And then with the tread trim curve selected, I'm going to select that and then click on that. Give it a minute. And yes, Now we can see it trimmed the wrong side, so all I need to do is go into the trim curve settings there, and go ahead and just flip the polygons, invert the polygons, and there we are. Okay, so if I just turn this off, you can see it a little more clearly how it trimmed all of our tread work. And that's all there is to that.